Hello, everybody. Welcome to Eating Peace. Most of us have been in one of those construction sites or a construction zone or a place where they use a lot of heavy mechanical equipment. And there's signs everywhere that say safety first, or maybe pictures of people putting on plexiglass glasses to protect their eyes with this idea, safety first, as a reminder to, as you're using dangerous equipment, that you can remember step number one, or while you're underway using this equipment, to take all the precautions you need to take so that it's safe for yourself. And I love thinking about this when it comes to compulsive behavior, because so often compulsion springs out of a sense of threat. It is a belief, I am not safe, and I need to get back to safety. I need to guarantee safety. I need to assure my own safety somehow. I need to panic and run and get the heck out of here, or I need to freeze and wait for what to do next. You know, there's no good options in the moment. And maybe I need to play dead, as somebody I was doing the work with recently said, or fight the situation, be aggressive with it, make it go away, enforce some kind of boundary. And these are all very normal and very natural responses to a sense of being threatened. I wanted to share with you, there's a group inquiry this morning in the Eating Peace process. It's 5 months of people, 6 months, going deeply together into this inquiry, especially around any place we've been stressed in our lives. And it's not just in eating, food, and weight, though that's where it appears to be obvious on the surface, but any place where we felt compulsion, and then looking carefully at where we felt a threat. One way to do this is to just simply notice. If you sat down with your journal and your notebook, or a really good friend who was there to listen, and together you did this exercise. The reason I say sit down with a friend is safety first. That's one of the precautions you can take. Get support. Get somebody else to stay there with you. And then you write in your notebook or remember a few times that felt really threatening, ever in your life. When I asked this question today, and the group of inquirers who are interested in this went back, they found violent situations when they were a child and there was an adult who was a perpetrator. Felt shameful situations, same thing, young adult, then there's an older adult, somebody that seems to have more authority and more power and more experience. In another situation where it was the same thing, just a creepy person was there and you didn't really know what to do. It was your first encounter seeing something of this nature. Everybody's had moments like that, kind of a loss of innocence or a moment that felt frightening or confusing and strange. And those are hard to return to. Something at a deep level, survival level in our minds and hearts will say, get me out of here. I never want to see this again, and I want to make sure this never reoccurs. I don't want to ever experience this trauma. Ever again. And of course, when it smells like this kind of trauma, or there's just a little bit of trauma going on in the atmosphere, or somebody kind of reminds you of that other situation, even just when there's a potential for this to occur in the world because you think it's happened before, it has happened in your past, you can live with the weight of this like a backpack on your back, and literally the weight of this on your body in your daily life, your reaction to the stress and the pain. Here's one thing that was wonderful about the group inquiry that we did this morning on this lack of safety. So safety first, get a companion, get someone to hold your hand along the way, sit with a friend, have somebody facilitate you. It's why there's so many mentors and teachers and healers and helpers out there in the world that we have access to, because it's so meaningful to get somebody to just join you in your journey. when you feel unsafe, threatened, anxious, frightened. So let's get support. It's really an amazing thing to do so that you stay close and you don't want to run away as fast as possible. All right, so we find that safety first, but then you can take a look at the situation, and through the process of inquiry, using the Work of Byron Katie, the 4 questions, and finding turnarounds. What I found most profound this morning that I really wanted to share with you all was the beauty in people discovering the truth of their turnarounds, and then even a living turnaround. Like, let's replay that terrible traumatic thing that happened in the past in a new light, while also noticing I've been the same exact way that person seemed to be with me. I've been the same way with food or eating. I've thought, there's nothing I can do about this, so I might as well eat. And then I've been condemning or berating or criticizing myself around doing this thing with food and eating that I've done. But maybe it was an act of courage to reach for food. And I'm just interested in something even better now. I'm interested in something that would seem even more peaceful, more comforting, more safer. You know, maybe I can find a different view. I can look through a different lens with this by sitting in deep inquiry, using the work, wondering about the situation, noticing I am safe now. That's another little piece for the toolkit for safety first, is noticing right now as I review a previously traumatic experience. I might even feel feelings bubbling up in me that feel threatened or sad, tearful, nervous, anxious. Like, I don't want to think about that situation. I hate thinking about that situation. And instead of resisting the situation, we're actually turning toward it and going in and taking a look, a close look, a very close look. Wondering, looking at the beliefs that we had that rose up, that seemed to become part of our backpack that we're carrying in our minds, carrying forward about the world, the watch out theory of life, and that we did this with whatever our compulsive behaviors are in order to soothe or ground ourselves or find safety in some particular way. That maybe grabbing for the food was the safest thing we could think of doing. If we didn't have the food to be there, soothing us or grounding us or at least giving us something that was pleasurable or distracting or patient or there or not talking back. If we didn't have that, maybe we thought we'd go crazy, experiencing that emotion, feeling that sense of threat or that worry or that profound lack of safety that we had at one time. At the different moments, maybe many times. So just being able to look at this different way that we could experiencing that previous moment from the past, we can actually look closely using the 4 questions, wondering with our imagination, who would I be without that thought, without that belief? Looking so closely at the story, seeing how food has served us, and every compulsive bite has been incredibly useful in a way. And then we've kind of replayed some of those things when we felt lack of safety. Some of that's been replayed in our experience to kind of like remind us. It's almost as if something's calling us and saying, you're going to have to take a look at this. You're going to have to take a look at it. At least I noticed that's what I did. I felt threatened or stalked or something was looming and lack of safety, creepy, worrisome. And then that is in turn exactly how I felt about food and eating. That there's all these foods out there that were creepy and looming and threatening, and they were going to come into my experience, and I was going to wind up eating, and that was going to be the result. It's a way it's like having a different movie playing over here around food or my relationship with food or eating, and really there was this other thing that was threatening about reality, about the world, about my life, And I can bring this to peace over here. And I'll just share one more thing in that toolkit of safety first, and that is I love noticing I'm safe in this moment now. I love noticing that I can get support and help if I can't do it by myself. There are people that can be incredibly useful and grounding and connecting for me in my life and doing the work, but also noticing that that thing actually passed. That thing that happened, even though I might have said with the words, it just happened over and over again, it was terrible, or it was, I had to suffer through that situation for so long. Well, even if it was so long, it actually ended. And we'll say that about food and eating too. I've had to suffer with this forever. It just continues and goes and goes and goes. I'm constantly doing this compulsive thing. I binge and binge eat. Even if you've had that experience, a binge ended. Like we miss all those moments when we actually were quiet, where we went to sleep, where we stopped eating, where there was a pause, there was a break in it. There was something, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter because the difficulty over here is so intense and strong and pervades my whole experience. But really, we miss noticing that the way it unfolded was quiet was returned, lack of threat came to be, the past was over. As Byron Katie says, the wonderful thing about the past is it's over. And that is about true with anything. It's ending, and now there's this new moment now. So happy new moment. Happy new moment. And it's okay if you've been carrying something it feels like for a very long time, or notice that you have trauma or difficulty or violence or threat in your experience of life. Let's take a look at it. I encourage you to find somebody that can support you and get help in doing that, because it's possible to notice and to be with something and not be in denial about it. You don't have to forget about it. You don't have to kill it. You don't have to make sure it never happens again. As you resolve and come to peace with what was and express the fear wave fully instead of getting frozen and stopping it and avoiding and distracting and doing everything you can to not be in that fear. As you stop doing that and letting it just be, allowing it to end, it will come to its natural end, and you just will not have the urge or the interest in the food anymore anyway, in the first place. You just, isn't that the most amazing thing that's possible when it comes to compulsive behavior? Is instead of having to control or prevent or tighten your fists against this terrible thing that could happen, taking a bite of food or overeating or binge eating, it just won't be interesting. It'll be something you used to do, and you remember how tortured that felt. But it's simply not required. It's just simply not required, not interesting anymore. And that can happen for any of us, because the natural way of it, for any of us, we're born with this, is to be at peace with food or eating. So it's possible for anyone to return to that. I know, because I've worked with so many people who have done that, and I myself have had that experience. Just wouldn't be able to make myself get interested in that food, even if I tried, because it's not required as an expression of trying to protect myself in some way or to be safe. So let's open up to what's frightened us in our lives and take a look at it. Take a look at it. Using the 4 questions and turnarounds is an amazing way to do it. And getting support for yourself. And remembering that. Safety first. You can even have safety right now while you take a look and review a frightening and difficult trauma that you experienced in your life, that you still remember and still notice part of you wants to avoid. You can take a look at it in safety now. and bring it to safety even then, and just notice. All right. Lots of love, everybody.